Mike.
I figured that counted. Hopefully it was the same 6 I took.
We've called the meeting order at 6:30.
What did you do?
Right.
We do have a quorum.
And somebody else is with us?
With all board members being present. This time we will discuss the December 20th regular board meeting agenda items. Dr. Randall.
Call the board's attention to the public hearing that we'll have on June 1st. We'll start with item 10. And then we'll go into the action items. First action is that the board approve out-of-state travel for Foster High School Choir to travel to Kansas City, Missouri. Next item, we ask the board to approve out-of-state travel for Foster, Fulshire, George Ranch, Lamar, Terry, their theater department to travel to Lincoln, Nebraska to compete in the international festival.
Wow.
The board approve out-of-state travel for George Ranch speech and debate to travel to Cambridge to compete in the Harvard speech debate tournament. Next item, we ask the board to consider approval of budget amendment request.
Yes, ma'am.
The secondary education department requesting a budget change for consultant services. Is that for student counselors type thing?
No, that's equal opportunity schools. If you remember, that is our AP course.
The AP?
Getting more kids in AP courses.
Okay. And then, oh.
Don't go away.
Yeah.
Chip.
I just need it clarified again, I guess just so that generally the constituents can understand. Like the technology department saying they need to change or amend the budget, is that something that we can't do ahead of time or prepare in the budget so that we don't have to do these corrections?
Typically, we try to, but the reason this year is different is that during the budget process in the summer, we did the proposal process to combine the printing and the copying services, and that's when ImageNet was selected. And at that point in time, we were just estimating how many of the different units we were going to have or need and where they were going to be placed. And of course, those decisions impact the cost. And then the cost and where they're placed impacts the functional level or the function. So for instance, if the unit's going to be used mainly for student copying or student printing and things that relate to instruction, then those costs have to be allocated to function 11. And so it was really hard during the summer to know how much of the cost needed to go in function 11 or how much needed to go in function 13 and so on and so forth. So until the actual implementation or deployment occurred, which happened, I guess it was actually just completed like in the last month or so, and we've just received our first bill. And so now that we know where the costs need to be allocated, now we can do this amendment. So we've moved money around, plus we've actually needed more units and maybe a different configuration of units, so there's a little bit of difference in cost as well.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those a little loud tonight, or?
Pardon me?
I hear like my own echo.
Yeah, they're,
It does sound different to me too.
Yeah.
that's why I pushed it all.
Is there a certain amount allocated in which the board has to approve? Because sometimes I feel like some of these, in my opinion, we could leave up to the discretion of the department.
The only amendments, there are numerous other amendments that are processed, like you're mentioning, on a daily basis. The ones that have to come to the board are the ones that cross functions.
Okay.
Within function, we can process those, but the budget is adopted at a functional level. So whenever we cross functions, we have to have
thank you.
additional approval.
Any other questions? Dr. Randall?
We ask that the board ratify the financial investment reports. The next item is the board to approve all the vendors who responded to the proposal for catering and banquet services for the district.
I have a question.
Ma'am.
It said that they have to meet the standards. Is that how it's worded? And I didn't search it, pick me up. They must meet the federal guidelines?
For adult catering, no, they don't. But whenever there are vendors selected that are going to provide foods that are consumed by the students in the cafeteria or in the lunch program, then they have to meet the same federal nutritional guidelines.
Which was
And
only
so
those two?
Yes, there's just a couple.
Okay, the Kona Ice.
Those are the only two that submitted bids that would possibly be used in food service operation, correct?
And that would comply with the regs.
Okay, so those were the only two that would
Yeah.
comply? All right, thank you.
Next item, we ask the board to approve a memorandum of understanding with Baylor University. As you all know, one of our cabinet members is working on his doctorate at Baylor, and this is to accommodate
What's that? I was going to ask, how did we get,
Mr. Rock.
and this is going to have students from Baylor?
This is designed specifically for Mr. Rockwood, but as a consequence, once the MOU is in place, if we have additional students.
Okay.
Next item, we ask the board to approve the membership of the attendance boundary committee. We're getting ready to start moving since we came around. Next item, we ask the board to approve the resolution proclaiming January 9th as Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Next item, we ask the board to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for Cameron Elementary School in the amount of $10,300. Next item, we ask the board to consider approval of a resolution and the related interlocal agreements with the School Purchasing Alliance for 2019-2020. Next item, we ask the board to approve traffic engineers Inc. for the traffic study for Cameron Elementary School in the amount of $18,000. Next item, we ask the board to approve PBK Architects for a comprehensive facility study and long-range facility plan in the amount of $199,550.
Also, board, you remember that was part of the audit recommending this type of activities.
Next item, we ask the board to approve Estes McClure and Associates as commissioning agents for high school number 6 and in the amount of $113,250. And you'll also remember this is one of those unfunded mandates that requires the commission. Next item, we ask the board to approve Estes McClure and Associates as commissioning agents for junior high school number 6 in the amount of $71,750. The next item, we ask the board to approve Estes McClure and Associates and as commissioning agents for Cameron Elementary School in the amount of $41,400. The next item, we ask the board to approve Traffic Engineers Inc. for the traffic study for high school and junior high school number 6 complex in the amount of $71,750. Next item, we ask the board to approve the Silver Point Energy electrical easement at George Ranch High School. Next item, we ask the board to approve CenterPoint Energy Gas Development fees for the Roberts Middle School. Next item, we ask the board to approve engineering air balance for the HVAC test and balance services for 74 terminal boxes at Foster High School and Bristol Junior High School in the amount of $36,850.
Please hear all the action items. Do we have any audience papers on the action items?
There are none.
Thank you. Information items. Excuse me. I'll just run through you, Dr. Anderson. You don't have to.
Thank you.
Information item, the 2018-2019 summer school. This outlines the programs that are going to be available. Any questions or comments on those? The next item is January will be School Board Recognition Month, and Dr. Randall's already signed the resolution on that. Very obvious what that is. Any questions?
I like the theme.
Pardon me?
I like the theme.
The tax collection report, standard report, we get any questions, concerns on that? Payments for construction projects? Questions or comments on all the projects we got going on? Bond, 2017 bond, 2014 bond? Got the project funds available from the 2011 bond money? Transportation update, remember we moved this to a quarterly report. Any questions on the transportation update?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just looking on the student discipline, the secondary referrals look like they're up. Are we having to make any accommodations for that? Are we having any issues?
Unless I'm missing something, I thought they were pretty close to what we had about the same period last year. They're up a little bit, but maybe 10%.
But nothing to be concerned with?
I haven't seen any.
Okay.
And again, you have to look at these numbers in the context of how many students we have on how many trips every day, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of potential incidents.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has been, I remember last year, same period, we had Harvey to deal with. So we missed quite a few days of school, and I think when we came back, everybody was in a little different mind frame than what they were this year.
And we added over 1,200 kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, the percentage is going to go
But
up.
I just want to say thank you for this
Yeah.
report, even though quarterly, it helps me a lot.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. The next information is a parent involvement update. Next information on the LEAP awards, just well done, fantastic. The way LEAP and our community supporting the school district is just a great, great thing. Next item, information item, the schedule for naming the new schools. See, we'll start that in January and finish that up with board approval in April of next year. That gives us the opportunity to approve the schools that we worked on that bond to get constructed. Stewardship report, I understand we have a report on that, Dr. Randall.
Yes, sir, we do. If you recall, last year we did not do a stewardship report because we were involved with the operational audit. While the staff is getting ready, I will just make a few comments. The staff really and truly has worked extremely hard this past year to address a lot of the information that's in the audit, and you'll find that we'll talk a little bit about that during the stewardship report. Some of the highlights for number one, the district met standard. All of our schools met standard this year. We had approved a balanced budget, maintained the same low tax rate For the 8th consecutive year, we received 78 campus distinctions, and Jackson Elementary was named a 2018 Blue Ribbon School. If you look at the Superintendent SMART goals, as you go through this, they're color-coded. No action is red, yellow is in progress, and green is complete. 3 of the 4 SMART goals are complete with the strategic planning in progress, and we will finish that up the first of this next year. And if you look at the audit recommendations, and I won't go through each one of those, but as you look at them, they're either in progress or they are complete. And one of the complete may not necessarily mean that it is exactly what the recommendation was, because if you remember, some of the recommendations would cost a significant amount of money, but we did some different types of things to still get at the recommendation but improve. So the green means that we completed what they recommended, but with the LCISD flavor.
Yeah, if you remember from the audit, they say typically whatever you spend on the audit, they would expect to return 10 times that in savings to the district. This district had been so frugal that when they came back, they said over the next 5 years, you probably need to spend about $20 million.
That's true, I remember that.
It turned out to be very complimentary that the district had been frugal for some time. So.
And our next question was where are we going to get that $20 million?
It's not coming from us.
So I appreciate the approach, Dr. Ray.
Okay. All right. Academics.
Good evening, Mr. Steenbergen and members of the board. I'm pleased to begin the review of the stewardship report with a quick look at some of the highlights of this past year's academic departments areas. On page 15, we see a large overview of the academic performance indicating the district continues to perform above the state in the STAR and EOC areas. This trend continues on page 18 when we look at the next highest standard of meets expectations. The 7th grade is the exception, as our pre-AP 7th graders take the 8th grade STAR exam in preparation for Algebra 1. We do that in math only in 8th grade. We're one of the few districts in our area that does not, that does that in order to, please excuse me, in order to ensure our 7th graders are prepared to advance a grade. On page 20, the trend continues as LCISD outperforms the region and the state at the master's level also. On pages 24 and 25, we find reports on advanced programs. We're seeing a significant increase in our underrepresented students in the gifted and talented classes, and an increase of 2,293 more AP exams given from 2014 to 2018. Since engaging in the Equal Opportunity School Initiative, there has only been a 1% drop in the number of students scoring 3s, 4s, and 5s on the AP exams. Perhaps most gratifying statistic in this report is that the parents in the LCISD community have accrued an increase of $1,208,544 in savings on tuition, fees, and books for dual credit courses attributable to the increase in underrepresented students taking the AP exams. While statistics are up in college career and military readiness, we're currently working on a plan to revisit the role of college career facilitators in order to increase efficacy. On page 29, a recent visit by them, as well as our Assistant Superintendent of Secondary, was made to Far San Juan Alamo ISD to mine some of their rich and innovative ideas that we'll be exploring in LCISD this spring. Data on discipline can be found on page 30. This data does not describe the degree of the incidents, but reports from PREEMS indicate that over the past 3 years, the number of serious discipline incidents per 1,000 students has decreased from 9 to 5.5. Pages 32 to page 60 cover the myriad of programs, content areas, athletic teams, and initiatives that can be found in the Department of Academics. From adding technical dual credit courses to the student health and well-being model to the teaching and learning areas and the extracurricular departments, LCISD students have a wide variety of experiences and resources to enjoy. Just a snapshot includes the 12 students who traveled to Chicago in May to compete in the final round of the MathCon competition. They scored in the top 1% out of over 50,000 students, in the 43 United States. The Girls STEAM Camp continues to grow, and this year was the recipient of a $20,000 grant from FLOR to continue their partnership in encouraging young girls in STEM-related fields. Just as important as our students' accomplishments is our development of the leadership pipeline, an effect called the leadership ripple that is encouraged throughout the department to grow young and innovative thinkers in our profession. Cohorts have been formed that allow opportunities such as described on page 44 to attract and grow our most promising teacher leaders. More than 800 model lesson plans and an additional 3,000 activities and resources have been written by teacher leaders and shared throughout our school district. This pipeline begins in the classroom and will be the foundational piece that ensures the practices of excellence that are the cornerstone of LCISD continue on into the future.
If you turn to page 60, it shows what many of you already know, that Lamar CISD is growing rapidly. Our current enrollment is just over 33,500 students. We're adding approximately 1,000 students every single year, and within the decade we project to reach over 50,000 students in Lamar CISD. In terms of enrollment growth, we are currently the 7th fastest growing school district in the state of Texas. If you look also on the same page when it comes to social media, we are glad to see some steady growth in 2018 with almost 12,000 Facebook followers and nearly 9,000 Twitter followers. Also, our YouTube channel hit 285,000 views this year. Speaking of video, if you turn to page 61, you'll see Lamar CISD began recording all of the board meetings and all of the workshops in 2015. To date, almost 70 board meeting videos have been posted online with a combined total of just under 14,000 video views. Additionally, we posted 12 superintendent updates or Randall reports this year, resulting in almost 23,000 video views for this year. Also on page 61, you'll see an update on our work with K-12 Insight. Now, this is the independent research and communication firm that works on our annual campus climate surveys, among several other surveys district-wide. Last year was our 5th year administering the campus climate survey, and we had just under 21,000 stakeholders respond to that survey. Also, for the 5th straight year last year, 8 out of 10 parents and 8 out of 10 teachers gave their home campus the grade of either an A or a B, which is certainly good feedback. In place of the Campus Climate Survey this year, K-12 Insight helped us facilitate our Strategic Planning Survey, which received over 18,000 stakeholder responses. You'll see on page 62 more on the overall strategic planning process, which is, of course, a partnership with the Holdsworth Center. We have completed our listening tour process with that survey and also 10 community meetings with about 350 attendees. Next month, the board will receive the results of the listening tour and hear more about the upcoming strategic planning committee work. You may have noticed some of the digital or print materials associated with strategic planning. Now, all of that was produced in-house in our graphic arts department. For the entire 2017-18 school year, there were almost 2,000 orders placed in graphic arts, and that resulted in almost 11.5 million black and white copies and 1.7 million color copies for all of our campuses and departments. This year, we've also re-emphasized the importance of school safety with the creation of the School Safety Department and a School Safety Coordinator. So far this semester, we've implemented the Standard Response Protocol, or SRP, which standardizes all of our safety drills and emergency procedures. This year, we've also launched text message alerts for all of our emergency events. We've upgraded the Raptor Visitor Registry system, which includes customized alerts or panic buttons, and we've worked with support services on the installation of additional buzzers or electrified locks for all of our front entry vestibules, along with classroom intruder lock sets on all of our classroom doors. Both of those are set to be complete by the first of the year. And finally, as recently mentioned, on page 63, we're always proud and happy to report that our Education Foundation LEAF has donated over $450,000 to campuses for the current school year, and that marks over $3.8 million in donations since the year 2000.
Continuing with the financial strength area, beginning on page 64. As you know, the districts face budget constraints brought about by many factors occurring at the local, state, and national levels, and has faced many challenges that are associated with managing high growth. Despite these trials, Lamar CISD remains financially strong. We have auditors on site now auditing our 2017-18 fiscal year, which ended on August 31, 2018. We expect that will reflect an estimated decrease in fund balance of about $5 million. There are a lot of moving parts, but there are three big factors that contribute to that decrease in fund balance. One being Hurricane Harvey and cost associated with that, the district's heavy contributions to the self-funded health insurance plan, and also a timing difference of our SHARS revenue. To get more detailed with a little bit of that, Hurricane Harvey reappraisals resulted in about $40 million in additional exemptions to taxpayers and an impact on the general fund revenue of about $420,000. There are various expenses that were associated with it also, which I'll go into in more detail further in on the report. And although the district's self-insured health plan does remain strong or is faring better than the majority of other self-insured or fully insured plans, there were uncontrollable costs and some high claims and things that resulted in the need for the district to contribute a little over $2.5 million in additional funds over what was budgeted last year. So that's about $3 million of the loss. And then another big piece is our Medicaid revenue. As you know, we provide services, medical services to students that are Medicaid eligible, and we have earned almost $3 million, $2.895 million to be exact, in revenues, but we can't post them to the books due to some accounting regulations, so there's a timing difference. They'll actually hit the 18-19 year instead of the 17-18 year. So that's a $3 million difference. A few other budgetary highlights in the 17-18 year that are worthy of mention are, you remember the in-kind donation of the band trailer that was valued at $128,000. And then we had $3.275 million donated in cash. $2.79 million of that was donated for the construction of 2 running tracks for Campbell and Dickinson Elementary School, and those are in service. The budget was also amended for $340,000 to establish equity in the band program, where 4 additional fully equipped 52-foot band trailers were purchased. The electronic message and scoreboard at Trailer Stadium was replaced. We moved 8 temporary buildings and constructed 1 additional, and all of the buildings required the construction of ramps and other facilities to place them in service. Other smaller but significant projects included Social Sentinel software, band instruments, and 2 fully equipped police vehicles that were purchased with general funds. The district continues its strong commitment to expending funds in ways that directly impact instruction. Almost 73% of the expenditures in 17-18 were in the categories of instruction and instructional leadership. Moving to page 67, and with relation to the 2018 or current year budget, it was adopted totaling in excess of $283 million. There are charts and a list of big ticket items in your report. Moving to page 68, there is information provided regarding the estimated ending fund balance at August 31, 2018. The district's still well within the TEA's recommendations and has trended within those guidelines for over 10 years. On page 69, you'll see a discussion of the largest sources of revenue, which are our state and local funding. The local piece being property taxes, of course. The key factors reported are that assessed values before exemptions are at $16.357 billion and have more than doubled since 2006, almost 70% of that since 2011, and it's flattened in the last couple of years. The top 10 taxpayer list represents 6.33% of our assessed values. There's a relationship of property taxes and state aid to our funding formula, of course. Local property taxes account for about 64% of the combined state and local revenues of $243.359 million, estimated for 17-18. On page 71, you'll see some details regarding the impact on the district of Hurricane Harvey. There are about $5.9 million in costs that are related, although all of those aren't cash outlays for overtime and things like that. They are representative of lost productivity, and that's the big one on top. There are reimbursements that we've applied for of approximately $2.317 million. We have received $2.164 million of that, the biggest piece being from TEA and the Restart Grant, which was $1.79 million. On page 72, we discuss budgetary endeavors for the 2019-20 school year. We'll still be participating with GFOA and the Alliance for Excellence in School Budgeting, and we're planning to utilize committees selected to exchange ideas and implement tools designed to establish a budget that's built on a collaboration between the financial and instructional leaders of the district. On page 72, there's a discussion of purchasing and materials management. We had an exciting year. First of all, we relocated the warehouse facility and personnel to a temporary location a couple of times without any interruption in services. The purchasing department worked with the web developer to create an internal database that would produce efficiency in finding approved vendors. The team's been studying and testing innovative methods to produce efficiencies for district users, such as e-procurement, and has designed a method to monitor spending with our cooperative vendors. We recently received a check in excess of $7,400 as a rebate from Buy Board in our activity with them. The department managed the processing of almost 11,000 purchase orders and participated in a collaborative initiative between financial services and support services to look at the flow of data in producing a purchase order and to create some efficiencies there. On page 74, you'll see a chart representing our local, state, and federal grants. We have in excess of $11 million in federal grants. Moving on to tax rate control and debt management. If you'll recall, we exercised the provisions of the tax code to raise the M&O rate from $1.04 to $1.06, and then we reduced the debt service rate. Because of our healthy fund balance, we can earmark the related 2 cents, which equates to $3.1 million roughly, move that from the general fund balance over to debt service to make it whole for the current year. And also, the additional 2 cents on the M&O side will generate $6 million in Tier 2 funds. On page 75, we discussed the 2017 bond referendum. We had the first sale of bonds under that referendum in July of 2018. The bonds were sold at a premium and provided $300 million in funds for construction at a rate of 3.79%. Which is a highly comparable rate to the interest cost of the 2017 sale, which was 3.76, and the 2015 sale at 3.95%. We're managing our variable rate bonds well as well. The initial rate on those bonds was 2%, and after the 2016 remarketing, we established a rate of 1.05. And in 2018, in this current report, we remarketed for a rate of 1.95%. This rate's in place until 2020 and will produce an estimated $4.3 million in savings over 2 years. Surrounding districts are presented on page 78 with respect to tax rates. There are 52 districts in Region 4. We're in the middle. and we're in the middle, or we're average for those, and we're in the middle or fourth of our surrounding 10 school districts, ranging from $1.04 to $1.54.
The Human Resources section begins on page 79, which shows our applicant and new hire data for all categories of employment. Last year, we had 7,500 applicants, and in total, we hired 1,071 new employees, with approximately a third of those being teachers. On the next page, you'll see that the Human Resources staff processed 480 recommendations to hire for certified staff, offered 458 positions, and had a 95% acceptance rate. The graph at the bottom of the page shows that the teacher job fair was slightly larger than the previous year, while the auxiliary job fair had a decrease in attendance. That information will be used to make adjustments for the upcoming auxiliary job fair. Page 81 focuses on student teachers, and in the past 3 years, Lamar has significantly increased the number of student teachers we are hosting each year, and have hired about 1/3 of the individuals who student taught with us in the last 3 semesters. Pages 82 and 83 highlight teacher hiring data. For the fall of 18, there was a 7% increase in the number of teachers hired who have 5 years of experience or less. Teacher diversity continues to be a priority in the district. Minority representation among new hires increased 2% this year, and this is the 5th year in a row we've seen an increase in staff diversity. Turning the page, you can see the information about the teacher retention rate, which is approximately 89% and consistent with the prior year. Teacher absence data is on the next page. The total number of absences stayed virtually the same over the prior year, even though we have a larger teaching staff. Additionally, we increased our substitute pool by 14%. The auxiliary staff retention rate is on page 87. This rate has remained constant over the past 2 years and is aligned with teacher retention rates. Page 89 provides information about the district's performance in unemployment hearings, and for the past 2 years, the district has prevailed in 12 of the 14 hearings. Employee participation in the medical plan can be found on page 91. Both the number of employee participants and dependents have increased over the prior year. At the top of the following page is the breakdown of the medical plan costs paid by the district and the costs paid by the employee, and the district provides the majority of the medical plan costs. Information about the diabetes management plan is on pages 92 and 93. The plan was launched in 2017, and participation this year increased by approximately 50%, with the majority of new participants being employees. Workers' comp claims data is on the next 2 pages, and 2018 year-to-date data show a decrease from the prior year. We've identified 3 top causes for claims: slips, trips, and falls, overexertion, and lifting or strains, and we are planning training accordingly based on our audit recommendations. Lastly, on page 95, there's information about the district's new weight loss plan for employees and dependents who enrolled in our medical plan. The Real Appeal plan currently has 80 enrollees, and of those, 84% are at risk for a serious health condition related to weight. In the month of October, the group lost 67 pounds.
Support services information begins on page 98, and 5 departments make up the LCISD support services department. Together, we have initiated 2 goals for the department. The department is working on creating the support services operations employee manual with a scheduled August 2019 implementation. The employee manual will document all the policies and procedures which govern the daily operations and activities across all 5 departments. We've also initiated multiple analysis of our current department software, which includes Munis and SchoolDo, to ensure that we are efficiently utilizing all software features. Still on page 98 is child nutrition. Within the child nutrition department, we've revised the organization structure by revising current positions in the job descriptions to add an assistant director for production and an assistant director for planning. In addition, a district supervisor position was created to further support kitchen quality control and catering for after-school programs, student extracurricular meals, and district events. And in fact, during the fall semester, the child nutrition team catered the extracurricular student meals on Tuesday and Friday nights at Foster High School and Terry High School, and it proved to be very successful. And our one of our assistant directors and our chef extraordinaire that provides the meals has provided the catering menus, and we'll give you a copy following the presentation. So thank you, Murray. Also, an accounts payable clerk job position was revised, and the child nutrition team added an accounting coordinator who supports department financial needs in collaboration with the financial services department, and to support the increased student meal participation, which we are seeing across all campuses. 6 additional campuses were enrolled in the CEP program, and this ensures that all CEP enrolled students receive free breakfast and lunch. The team also introduced new menu options, what's proving to be very popular, General's Chicken and King Ranch Chicken. They are liking that very much. They are utilizing social media to promote the positive menu presentations of the food, and also to promote the innovative events that have been a lot of student excitement. National School Lunch Week had a lot of technology giveaway items, especially at the secondary level, and the Elementary Thanksgiving Parent and Grandparent Day proved to have a great turnout as well. On page 102, we have the facilities and planning information. Our new facilities and planning department is directed by Kevin McKeever, with 2 team members that have been added, project managers Anthony Wolverton and Scott Hartfield. This team has been charged with managing the Bond 2017 projects. The facilities team has also initiated a recommendation to begin the process of creating a facilities assessment and long-range facilities master plan. And to further support the district growth, a portable needs assessment is underway to ensure that campus needs for portables in the upcoming school years are met while we continue to build schools to meet the increased enrollment. Maintenance and operations, if you'll turn to page 103, they have over 385 square miles to manage. And as a result, the M&O department has created 4 color track teams. They consist of a supervisor, planner, maintenance technician, and lawn team to successfully manage the district needs. The color track team assignment has significantly reduced travel time and increased response time, especially for our campuses that are in need. M&O's efficient methods continue with the addition of the campus riding vacuums. You may have seen the pictures out on the social media, their Twitter, and a robotic mower, which is currently right now at the Fulsher complex and mows from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and has proven to be very successful. And they have said that they will turn it on during the day if we would like to see that. To further support campus student staff needs, a midday custodial shift from 11 a.m. to 7:30 was created, and it has started at the campuses that requested, and it ensures the campuses have 2 custodians on staff during the busy lunches and afternoon events. Technology services. The Technology Services Department is currently working with multiple departments and developing a district disaster recovery plan. In fact, today several follow-up meetings were held with our consultant following the initial information gathering meetings, and they will continue to be working on that recovery plan. A district-wide deployment of new copiers and printers occurred during the summer of 2018. Over 1,400 devices were replaced across the district during this refresh project, and it resulted in bringing greater access and cost reduction to color printing for students and staff, and it's been well received. The interactive whiteboard refresh project is ongoing, and the schools are scheduled for the whiteboard replacement over the course of the next 3 years. If you'll turn to page 113, support services concludes with our transportation department. Currently, our transportation operates over 200 AM and PM routes a day with 40 instructional day shuttles and the 4th grade swim shuttles. The department is in the process of updating their communication system, which includes a relocation of the antenna and an upgraded digital radio system. And we're excited about, and in preparation for the 1920 school year, the implementation of the student tracking system. We're currently evaluating vendors. In fact, we had one scheduled this morning that we reviewed. We're looking for the best possible system to assist the department with routing students, scanning students on and off the bus, providing data for state reports, and most important, to provide parents that access to real-time data that provides the time and location of where the children boarded and exited the bus. So we're excited about that.
And as you can see, this has been a very busy year, and we'll answer any questions that the board may have.
And you'll have time to look over this in more detail and ask more questions on the third meeting. Unless you've digested all this. I would just like to comment. We played a lot of stuff on you this past year with everything that's happened, and y'all have done a remarkable job. I mean, you have blown me away with the things that you've accomplished. My first impression, school district, everything moves at glacial speed. Well, this last year, the speed has considerably picked up, and I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you have done. It's been a fantastic year. Thank you so much.
Well, and it looks like there's some very exciting programs that y'all are working with, and that makes you even more excited to delve into it. And I think that is a good accomplishment, too, with what we've been through.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You should be proud of yourselves. You're all smiling.
Because they're done.
It's a lot of work. But I too, I just want to say thank you. I know it took a lot of time and effort, but it's very informative. And be proud of yourselves. That'd be great.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. So.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to start from the back, so I'm going to start with Ms. Hack. How does the M&O department utilize the services that Region 4 has been providing for us? And are we
The
able
agreement
to?
we have every
Yes.
2 years.
Mhm.
With the agreement, the director and assistant director positions are contracted through Region 4.
Oh, okay, so that's how it's.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, that's what I wanted to know about that. Let me see, excuse me, page 71. One, I guess this is for Dr. Bowen. Personal salaries and lost productivity due to the closure of the schools was $4,500,000, or was that for Ms. Ludwig?
That's mine. The closure of Harvey,
Uh-huh.
that's the district typically pays the staff during the days of closure. So that's really the productivity loss. Since we pay them, even though they're not physically here working during the 9 days, that's the cost of the 9 days.
And sometimes school
That's the
districts don't do that.
resolution the board
Right.
passed.
We did a resolution.
Right, and absolutely, and I remember that. But did the state not reimburse us for any of that? They didn't help out
They
at all?
won't, no. It's ineligible for FEMA or the state.
And is it an actual dollar amount?
We actually, yes, we continue to pay staff while they're not.
Oh,
here.
I know that, but the loss was actually, that's the actual
That's the
dollar
cost.
amount.
Yeah, that's the cost of it.
Because I know that you said some of it's not dollar per dollar, but this was dollar per dollar.
Those are funds that were budgeted to be paid out anyway, if everyone was here at work.
Oh, I see, okay.
So they were part of the
So
budget.
it wasn't an additional,
Right, no, it was not an additional.
Oh, okay.
Some of the other line items there were additional, like
Right.
the 433,000
Right.
figure, that's actual overtime.
and so,
For
right,
the
and some of
premium
the other
time
costs.
for people that
Okay.
did come back and work.
So this wasn't additional, okay, that's what
No.
was freaking me out. Okay,
No,
good.
everything,
Teacher's supposed to work, or
I'm sorry?
187.
The items under that were actual costs that were over and above what was
Actual.
already budgeted.
Right, okay,
Yes.
but that was already, okay, I was getting a little worried about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And on page 25, and I think this is for you, Ms. Lowe, for, on the advanced placement tests, where it says, like, for example, I'm just looking at that first, or that second chart in the middle, the long advanced placement program participation 2014 through 2018. And let's just go to the very last row, where it says 2018, and it says exams and then students. I'm assuming that there's 272 students enrolled in AP programs, and so there's double the number of exams because those kids are involved in more than one AP class, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a percentage of the kids who are taking, so for example, AP psychology, do you break down the percentage of how many kids are taking the test in comparison to how many kids are taking the class to see how, I guess, productive or that
Yes, we
teacher
do.
is, or, I mean, and I'm not, pointing fingers, but just to make sure that we have the right fit for teacher and class. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes, we do. A few years ago, we had a criteria of at least 50% of your students took the AP exam, and we dropped it a few years ago with the expectation that if they're taking an AP course, they would be strongly encouraged to take the AP exam, so that minimum of 50%, we were shooting for all of your students should be taking the AP exam, but we do have a breakdown by teacher. That information is given to the principals each year so that they can have conversations if there's
Okay.
any question
That's what I
about the
want to
number.
make sure of. Okay, thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much. Appreciate it. That's it. That's all my questions. Okay, go ahead.
One quick question. This is back to the RV costs for the lost productivity. So the $4.5 million we paid out when, staff wasn't here. I can't remember, refresh my memory, did we lose funding from the state for not being open those days?
No, we applied for a waiver,
We got,
and so the number of days in the calendar are reduced, so we're not penalized for not having attendance in those days.
Thank you. And y'all did a fantastic job, as always. Thank you so much.
Here, here, here. The only other information we have was strategic planning, and we covered that very well with statistics that Mike gave us, so. No other questions to come before the board? We will call this meeting adjourned at 7:21. Thank you, everybody.